The countdown to November's presidential election continues. 9 months out, Donald Trump retains a healthy lead over Joe Biden in a number of swing states. Let's go live to Washington and bring in Republican strategist Colin Reed, a co-founder of South and Hill Strategies. Colin, great to see you. Looking at these latest numbers from Morning Consult and Bloomberg, the polling across several swing states, there is daylight right now between Trump and Biden.
Yeah, these numbers, Kieran, they were pretty eye-opening because these are states that many of which President Biden carried 4 years ago. And when he did, it was by the narrowest of margins. And then you see some of these just enormous differences between Trump and Biden. So it's got to be something that the White House and their allies are concerned about because the election is drawing nearer and President Biden is not as though he's gaining strength or looking better by the day. And, look, here's the fundamental issue President Biden faces. And it's the question that Ronald Reagan asked Jimmy Carter all those years ago, which is, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And the answer for most Americans, whether you like Donald Trump or don't like Donald Trump, is no. And that's the challenge that that's the anchor that Joe Biden has to carry into this reelection battle. And the clock is ticking and it's getting late fast, as they say.
Yeah, indeed. And it's all about economic circumstances that it seems Americans can put the drama to one side around the former President Donald Trump in the hope that their economic and kitchen table economics improve.
Well, here's the issue. Joe Biden wrapped his entire economic agenda around the term Bidenomics. And when you attach your name to something that is widely seen as not that good, you sink like a stone. And that's the issue that he faces, which is the economic metrics, the numbers, consumer confidence. Everything seems to be ticking in the right direction, but people don't feel it yet. And I think the White House is probably hoping that they will over the course of the next few months. But they're all in on this Bidenomics message. They're all in on this idea that Joe Biden was the savior of the economy and that somehow people are going to feel good and they're going to support him. And it hasn't borne fruit yet. And they've got a little bit of time left to find a different message. And look, President Trump, he doesn't come into this race without baggage of his own. He's got his legal challenges. He's got all the things going on around him. And, he's still got Nikki Haley to deal with as well, especially in the state of South Carolina, where we've got that primary coming up in just a few short weeks.
Is there any scenario, Colin Reed, where Nikki Haley in her home state of South Carolina can start an unlikely comeback?
The polls show her down right now, but here's a couple of things going in her favor. Number one, nobody has ever faced Donald Trump one-on-one in a Republican primary. 4 years ago, Kieran, or 8 years ago, I should say, it was 8, 9, 10, 11 candidates versus Trump. And he's got his slice of the pie and everybody else was dividing theirs a number of which ways. Now it's just one-on-one. And that's an entirely different ballgame because anybody out there who wants someone other than Donald Trump, they've got one home to go to, and it's Nikki Haley. The second is there is still 3 weeks to go. Three weeks in politics is dog years, let alone in Trump years because of everything he's got going on. So anything can happen. And look, if it were a bygone, if everything was a foregone conclusion, why bother to have the election? So stranger things have happened. She's a talented candidate. She's in her home state. She's won there twice before as governor. It'd be a mistake to completely write her off.
Yeah, indeed. Certainly got the energy and a great communicator in her own right. Finally, is there anything, we talk about weeks being dog years, what about the months to November? Is there anything, that's an eternity in political terms. Is there any scenario in which you see Biden tapping the mat and allowing a younger, more potent alternative to come through and contest for the Democratic Party?
It seems hard to believe we're going to go through a rematch of two 80-year-old guys or two guys who are close to the age of 80 to be the commander-in-chief of the United States military and the leader of the free world for all intents and purposes. So that's why 7 in 10 Americans think this is not the rematch that anybody wants. It's not the sequel anybody wants to go see. So look, anything is possible. I'm a Republican. I don't really understand the machinations on the Democratic side, but at some point, whatever you think of Joe Biden's policies, whatever you think of his principles, whatever you think he's trying to do, at some point, Americans have eyes and they can deduce for themselves that he's just not up for the job. And that's the challenge he faces. Father Time, Kieran's undefeated. And that's the thing that President Biden is grappling with right now, and his team has no good answers for.
Undefeated indeed. Colin, great to chat. Appreciate it.